Hello, hello. So I'm Quinn, and this is Open Awareness Yoga, and welcome to Tuesday Yoga Live. We need a few props for today's class, as usual. Today we need 2 towels. One of mine is much larger than the other, so you're going to unfold them from how they are in your towel closet, and then just fold them over once. I'll show you from here to here. You'll do the same thing on both, and if your towels are like mine, you will make sure that one of the edges is lined up. So make sure that they're lined up at one of the edges. This will just be extra. And to get your towels ready for practice, you'll start from the end where they're lined up and roll. Okay. And we'll place that on the mat long ways. So we call this vertically on the mat. And you'll also need your 2 handy hardback books or yoga blocks and your strap or tie, whatever it is that you use to help you hold your feet in the air. Interlace your hands behind your back. Okay? So this will all be close to where you're practicing. And we'll start in a Supta Baddha Konasana, which we do by lining up your back with the solid end of your blanket roll. So remember, I had some extra fluff at the end of mine. Have that be out of the way. Then you come to lie down over that rolled blanket and adjust your hips, your low back, so that you're comfortable in space. Then turn your palms face up and bring the arms out to a T. You can also bend 90 degrees at the elbows. And just tune into your breath here. And breathe in and out through the nose. And begin to draw your awareness from what is outside of you to what's going on inside of you, inside your skin. Allow the backside of your body to receive the imprint of the rolled blankets beneath it. So really soften your body very heavily down to the ground. And let your 2 shoulder blades drop down on either side of the rolled blanket. If you'd like to add some opening through your inner thighs and groins, you may bring your soles of the feet together and let your knees open wide, as in Supta Baddha Konasana, the butterfly legs. And if this hurts your knees or your thighs, then you can skip it for today. Continuing to breathe smooth and slow. You can stay right here if you'd like, or if you want to add a little bit more through the armpit chest, then grab opposite elbows over your chest, and then bring the arms overhead. Soften these front low ribs down towards the rolled towels underneath you. And continue with your smooth, slow breathing. Today in class, we'll be opening up through the shoulders and the chest, trying to make some space in the neck and release the upper trapezius muscle. And we'll also be getting into the feet and lower legs. And a yoga asana practice really works all parts of the body. Asana stands for posture or pose, and it's the name of the practice we do with our body. Let's bring the arms back over the chest and then switch whichever forearm was on top and then release them overhead once more. If at any point your legs have had enough in the Baddha Konasana position, then you can pull those knees together and just focus on your upper body. A few more deep breaths here. And we're starting class today with a lot of slow opening. Bring the arms back overhead and then release them to the side of the body. Just roll off of your roll onto one side and press your hands down into the floor to sit yourself up slowly. We'll head right back down, this time with the release of the belly. So if you've just eaten, you might skip this. It's not good with a full stomach. Just lay on your belly without the blanket roll. Otherwise, you'll make your blanket roll horizontal on your mat. So change directions. It'll be perpendicular to the length of your mat. And you want it to wind up in the soft tissue of the belly. So between those bony ribs in the bottom of the chest and the bony hip points at the top of the pelvis, you want in between there. So it really does like enter the body and the spine will round over it. Then you bring yourself over the blanket roll. And find that soft tissue. You can always unroll the blanket a little bit if it's too much. Stack your palms, one on top of the other, and bring your forehead down to your hands. This can be intense. And the same thing we did on your back, can you allow your body to receive the shape of the blanket? And you might notice your referred heartbeat here, or you can feel your heart beating in your belly. But release any tension. Notice if the belly is trying to pressure itself up and away from the bolster, the blanket underneath, and soften. So here you're getting not only a massage to your digestive organs, stimulating the digestion and elimination. You're also releasing the low back. So really let your buttocks fall towards the backs of the thighs. A few more breaths here. And we'll come out. Bring the hands underneath your shoulders and press your way off of that blanket roll. We'll be doing a few more of these opening poses, so just set it off to the side for now and take a downward facing dog. So curl the toes under and lift the hips up high to the sky. Let the head hang. Maybe bend and straighten one knee and then the other. And here, just notice how the low belly feels in this shape. Notice how the low back feels. Can you bend your knees and lift your hips up even higher in the sky? Lengthen your tailbone away from the rest of the spine. And then keep that long low back as you work your knees towards straight and the heels down towards the ground. The knees might not straighten. The heels might not wind up on the ground. Just take a mental snapshot of how this downward dog looks and feels in your body. And slowly bring the knees down to the ground. Bring your big toes to touch and grab your blanket and again, horizontally across the mat, set it far in front of you. We'll take a child's pose here with the hands on the blanket. If your hips don't comfortably sit back on the heels, it's okay to have them lifted off. You might also grab your books if it's hard to get your forehead down to the floor and place them in front of you for the forehead to land on. So here, we'll bring the arms forward, hands grip the towel like so, and the forehead down to the books or to the floor. Now, if you are gripping the towel, like holding onto it, just soften through the hands and the fingers. And here with the arms elevated, we have a bit more opening through the chest and upper back. Deep breaths. And tuning into the quiet of your child's pose and the quiet of your yoga practice. Just a few more moments. And then bring your hands off of the blankets and lift yourself up onto hands and knees. You can leave that blanket roll right where it is. Curl your toes under, so as if you were going into down dog, but you're not. My toes are curled under. And then walk the hands back, and one side at a time, reach back with your hand and begin to stretch the toes further apart and try and flatten each all the way down to the metatarsal. That's the ball of your foot. So you're really trying to get the toes curled underneath you. Really try and get the pinky toe involved. It doesn't always want to. Then when you're ready, move to the second foot. Spreading the toes, lengthening the toes. You might already be feeling a lot of something right here, so this is where you stay. If you're not feeling much, then you crawl your hands further back towards your knees, sitting more of your weight up onto your heels. This is called broken toe pose. It is pretty much not comfortable to anyone who doesn't practice it regularly. If you're not feeling anything yet, hands come up on the knees. And for the most pressure, downward pressure on the feet, you bring the hands over the head. Just interlace the hands on top of the head. Take some deep breaths here. I know it can be super intense, and you might be like, I think the bottom of my foot is breaking. If you're feeling crazy, just come out of it a little bit. Try to take a couple breaths where you're exploring the sensation with curiosity, and notice the ways in which you might try to avoid the sensation. There's a saying that open feet, open mind. All of the energy pathways in the body end in the feet. And so just think you're doing something good for all of the systems in the body this way. And I release you. Bring the hands down to the ground. Point back through the feet. Oh, and you might tap, 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 tap gently on the floor. Nice. I'll give you a little bit of break in the feet. It will move in the opposite direction, but it will be just as intense, maybe, in the calves. So you grab that rolled up set of towels or blankets and place it right on top the medius bit of your calves. So it's halfway between the knees and the ankles on my body. And then you sit down on it. Oh, yep. If you've ever foam rolled, this might be a familiar feeling. The butt might not land all the way on the heels. Really the point is what you're probably already feeling, which is some intensity in the calves. So here you can sit still or you can slowly, oh I hate it, rock back and forth. My calves are super tight. They're probably the tightest part of my body. So Missy, this is for you. But it's good for all of us to practice. Oh. And then go ahead and lift yourself up and find just one more spot on the calves, either moving the blanket further down or further up. Ugh. And a couple more moments, just opening up in this way. Smooth out your breath. Notice if you're holding it because of discomfort and sensations, and then realize that maybe that's a habit for you. Or notice if a certain emotion might be coming out. I don't want to do this. Or, oh, Quinn, anger, that's mine usually. That's okay. You're letting it out. It's moving out of the body. And here, oh, sweet release. Set this blanket off to the side. And we'll take a low lunge, but we'll do it slightly differently than we normally do. So just bring one of the feet forward between the hands. And then here, what I want you to do is instead of stacking the knee over the ankle, which we often do, I want you to send that knee as far over the toes as possible, because we're getting a stretch through the Achilles tendon, through the back of the ankle. If it's hard to reach the floor, you can use your books to lengthen the arms, any of the height. But try and drop this heel. Keep the heel on the ground. So only go so far as you can with the heel on the ground. And feel that stretch through the back of the ankle. And you might feel it somewhere else. Obviously, the back thigh is also opening. Now soften your toes. Just look down at those toes and notice if you're scrunching them up and holding tension there, and just let it go. Let it out. Look at them, watch them soften. And then hands or knuckles on the floor. You shift back to change sides. And so once again, knee comes as far over the toes as possible while leaving your heel on the ground. Smooth out your breath. Soften your sweet toesies. My apologies if it's patronizing to call them toesies. I refer to them as toesies in my own mind sometimes. Okay. Hands or knuckles if your wrists are feeling some pain. Shift yourself back onto hands and knees. And let's get set up for this down dog, especially if your heels don't normally touch the ground in down dog. We'll be putting the heels on top of the blanket roll, okay? So then we'll come back into tabletop with the toes right up against the blanket. Curl the hands forward of the shoulders and downward facing dog with your heels down on the blanket roll. So now you can actually press the heels down into the earth and work on a release from the backs of the knees, down the length of the calves, through the Achilles tendon and into the center of the heels. Now let's set our position in down dog. So as you inhale, come forward into a plank pose and then walk your hands so that they're underneath the shoulders. Keep your hands and feet where they are. Press back into downward facing dog. So if the shoulders are hurting, you can walk your hands a little bit further apart or even turn the hands away from the midline. Press down strongly into the palms of the hands. Wrap your triceps down towards the ground, spread across the collarbones, spread across your upper back. Now, press the fronts of the thighs into the backs of the thighs. So we're moving the quadricep back into the bone and spreading the hamstrings open. Heels pressing down to the ground. One more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. Now bend the knees and walk your feet forward to the hands. Bring your hands to your hips, pull them together behind you, press down into your feet, and inhale to slowly come up to standing. Now you're standing at the front of your mat. You might move the blanket out of your way for a few Surya Namaskar A's. You're standing at the front of your mat. I'll stand here in the center so that you can see what we're doing. So first, Tadasana. Feet hips width distance or together. Hands down along the side of the body. And close your eyes. Feel the soles of your feet in the earth. You might notice that they feel broader, or that you have a desire to sort of spread the soles of the feet out, spread the toes out, and ground a little bit more through the feet. And then rock your weight forward so that it's more in the metatarsals, the balls of the feet. And rock your weight back so it's more in the heels. And then come to a place of evenness between those 2 points. Open the eyes. And then bend your elbows. Keep the elbows glued to the sides of the body. And turn the palms up to the sky. So it's like you're holding a tray. From the side, it looks like this. I want you to spread across the collarbones. So really spread across the upper chest. You'll feel the heart open. But keep these low ribs drawing back towards the back ribs so that we're not back bending. Okay? Spread across the upper chest. Open the hands out to the side. and feel the rotation of the upper arm bones as your biceps move forward and your triceps move back, perhaps squeezing against the backside of your body. Shake the head no. Soften the sides of the neck. Keep opening across the collarbones. And now as you inhale, draw the arms out through a T and up overhead. Exhale, bend your elbows, lift your heart, little back bend. Inhale, arms back up to the sky. Surya Namaskar A. Exhale, fold all the way down. Grab your books if you need help reaching the floor. You can bend the knees here. We'll be here for a little while. Let's release the back of the neck. So Jen, a friend of mine, told me that she's got a very sore shoulders and neck from the way that she sleeps. And so this can really help a lot of us. Bring your thumbs into your ears. And then take your 4 fingers behind your skull and explore for the place where the neck meets the skull. It's called the suboccipital ridge, and it is like a valley and then a ridge, and you can actually hook your fingers into there. And there's some tissue, some soft tissue and muscles in that ridge. And with a very gentle but firm pressure, draw that ridge straight down towards the ground. So you're starting to stretch the back of the neck. Take a few breaths here. If all you can feel is your legs, bend the knees a lot. Tractioning the back spine, noticing the reverberations of this in the muscles of the upper back, the upper trapezius. And slowly release the hands down towards the ground. Hands on your books or on your outer shins. Inhale to come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Reach the top sternum forward, find a very flat spine. Exhale, fold back down and in. Plant your hands and step back into plank pose. Inhale into plank. Knees come down to the ground. Exhale, lower all the way down. Point back through the tops of the feet, slide your fingers back. Inhale, lift your heart. Spread across the collarbones and pull the elbows together behind you. Exhale, find downward facing dog. Press back up through hands and knees. Hips up high to the sky. Deep breath in. As you exhale, press your heels down towards the ground behind you. Maybe they're going further than normal. On an exhale breath, walk your feet forward to the hands. Hang the head. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold back down and in. Press down into your feet. Inhale, come all the way up to standing, arms overhead. Exhale, release your hands down by the sides of the body. Again, inhale, arms overhead. We'll take a back bend here. Exhale, bend your elbows, lift your heart. Inhale, arms back overhead. And exhale, fold forward. Breathe in, come halfway up. And then look around. Find your strap. Make sure it's close by. And use an exhale breath to fold back down and in. Again, you can bend the knees if you like. And either interlace your fingers behind your back, or if that's difficult for you, grab your strap and hold it behind the back. So it looks like this. Bring your thumbs as close as possible to one another, so the palms are faced away from the body. And then reach the arms overhead. Lift the shoulders away from the ears. Keep that distance, that long neck, and soften the upper trapezius so the arms release a little further. Take a deep breath in, spread the collarbones wide. Breathe out, sink. Another breath in. Another breath out. Let the back of the head go. Last one here, in and out. Bend the knees even deeper. Release the strap or your hands and bring them down to the floor in front of you. Hands on the outer shins. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, plank pose. Plant those hands. And step it back. Now, knees up or knees down. We'll hold plank for a little bit. Press down into the inner edge of your hands, the index finger and thumb side. Move the weight of your wrist from the pinky side of the wrist to the thumb side of the wrist. Wrap your triceps back towards your side body. Reach your top sternum forward. Hug the low belly up and in towards the spine. Press back through your heels to strengthen the legs. Another breath in. Keep those hands planting just as you put them. As you exhale, lower halfway down. Elbows point straight back. Chaturanga. Inhale in chaturanga. Exhale, lower all the way down. Now again, we'll interlace the fingers behind the back. So if you use your strap, grab it here. Forehead on the earth. Interlace the hands or hold the strap at the small of the back. Pull the elbows together behind you, and in so doing, you lift the shoulders off of the earth. Keep the feet down on the ground to start. As you inhale, lift the heart and reach the knuckles or the strap behind you. Reach your tailbone away from the rest of the spine. I'm saying the same thing. Reach your tailbone between your heels. Now tuck your chin so the back of the neck is long and think about how it felt to pull the suboccipital ridge away from the rest of the neck. Find that length through the neck. Deep breath in here. Spread those collarbones. And exhale, slowly release. Bring one cheek down to the ground. Release the hand. We'll do one more round, but we'll take a break. So for this next round, you're welcome to add the feet, lifting the feet off of the ground. So we'll get ready. Forehead on the earth. Interlace the fingers behind you. Keep the feet on the ground to start. Roll the shoulders away from the earth, and as you inhale, lift your heart. Back of the neck is long. You know what that means now. Now here we go. Maybe lift the toes off of the ground. Keep tailbone pointing between the heels. Roll your inner thighs up towards the sky. Reach out with the mounds of the big toes. Spread across the collarbones. Breathe in. And exhale, release. Bring the other cheek down to the ground. Arms along the sides of the body. Few deep breaths to recover. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders when you're ready. Press your way up into tabletop and find downward facing dog. So same thing we did in plank. We want to move the weight of our arms, really, the weight of our body, from the pinky side of the wrist to the thumb side of the wrist. So we're really grounding down through the root of the thumb and the base knuckle of the index finger. Reach your butt up into the sky to lengthen the low back. Then drop the heels down towards the ground. Release the backs of your knees down the calves to the heels. And even try and lift the metatarsals, the ball mounds of the feet, off of the ground. They probably won't go very far. Mine don't move at all. But I can feel that sensation of effort as I try to get the tops of my feet and the mounds of my feet to lift off the ground. Bend your knees. Walk your feet forward. Inhale, come up halfway. Hands to the hips, elbows together behind you. Another breath in brings you all the way up to standing. So we're going to get even deeper into these calves, and you'll use your blanket roll again. So grab the blanket roll and place it in front of you, wherever that may be. If you can't reach the floor when you come into a forward fold, absolutely use books here, or find a wall so that you have something underneath you, or your coffee table, or whatever piece of furniture is nearby. If you can reach the floor, you might also want books, honestly. This is going to be a lot. So I will stop stooping and stand with my toes on the blanket roll and my heels on the ground. Okay? So you might already sense where we're going with this. You can make the roll smaller, right, by unrolling it a little bit, and that's your prerogative. But I really want to feel grounded through the metatarsals and grounded through the heels. So to get into this, we bend the knees and then fold forward, books or fingers to the ground. And then, if you don't feel anything yet, straighten the legs. Oh my gosh. You might notice that one side is way tighter than the other. Keep the weight shifting forward towards the toes. Support your body with your hands and arms as well. And take some deep breaths into those calves. And with the mind, can you give your calves permission to release, to spread, to accept the incoming oxygen through areas that might have been blocked, and to release tension and tightness as you breathe out. Release the back of the skull. Subocciput hangs down. And now bend the knees forward over the toes. And keeping the knees bent, lift your sitting bones up and away from the backs of the knees. This is kind of complicated. We keep the knees bent, but we stretch the hamstrings from the sitting bones by lifting and spreading the sitting bones. And you might start to feel another deeper muscle in your calves begin to stretch. So it's the soleus muscle that we're going for, which is a flat muscle underneath the shapely gastrocs that form the shape of your calf muscles. So again, weight forward in the toes. Knees stay bent in this one, but we're still reaching some length up through the sitting bones. I think that's enough. So bend the knees. Either come up to standing slowly or just step your feet off of the towel. And we'll find a downward facing dog. It will feel much different after all of that. Or I don't want to suppose and assume things. It might feel different. You tell me. So feel strength in the hands. Feel that alignment through the shoulders, triceps back, spreading collarbones, spreading the upper back. And then notice how it feels in your lower body. A cue from the beginning of class, press the tops of your thighs into the backs of your thighs, or the fronts of your thighs into the backs of your thighs, as you release the heels down closer towards the ground. Inhale, come forward into your plank pose, and then toes are underneath heels, hands are underneath shoulders. Keep your hands and feet where they are and find another downward facing dog. It might be wider than where you just were. And it might result in the heels not coming all the way down to the ground, but press them in that direction. Deep inhale breath. And as you exhale, knees come down to the earth. Big toes touch. Child's pose. Hips back to the heels. Forehead to the ground. Smooth breathing. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders and sit yourself up. And we'll come to standing from here, any way that you like. And then stand facing the long side of your mat for Utthita Parshva Konasana. Hands on the hips, step your feet wide apart. So from deep within this right hip socket, turn the entire right leg out and angle the left toes in. I'll move the towel so you can see my body. Interlace the fingers behind the back and then slide the knuckles over to the left hip so that they're on the outside of the left hip and you start to feel a stretch through the right side chest and collarbone. Inhale here. Exhale, bend into the right knee. And then spread your feet as wide as you need them to be so that your right knee is lined up over the heel. And here, right from this right hip crease, we hinge the body, creating a long line from left heel through the crown of the head, and then tuck your chin in towards the left armpit. Press down into your right heel. Feel your buttocks lifting you from underneath. Reach your tailbone towards your left heel. So you lengthen the low back. We'll come out the way we went in. Keep a deep bend in the right knee. Inhale, lift the shoulders back up over the hips. Release the hands to the hips and straighten the right leg. Parallel the feet. Second side. From the left hip socket, the entire leg turns out. Right toes angle in. Interlace the hands behind the back. This time, put the other thumb on top, so it'll be the funky feeling interlace. And then scoot your knuckles over towards the outer right hip. Open up through the left collarbone. Inhale. Exhale, bend deeply into your left knee. So from that hip, the hinge in the left hip, we lean the torso forward over the left leg, and then tuck your chin in towards the right armpit. Press down through the left heel. Feel the left buttock scooping underneath you to support you. Point your tailbone towards the right heel, and then press your right heel down into the ground. You might notice this feels quite different with the calves open, especially if that's an area for you of tightness. Coming out the way we went in, shoulders come up over the hips. Bring the hands behind the back. Release the hands and straighten the left leg. Actually, I don't think that was exact reverse of the way we went in, so please don't blame me for it. So from here, we'll take a balancing pose, Natarajasana, or dancer pose. If you need a wall or a piece of furniture to help balance you, make sure that you've got one nearby. And if you can't grab your heel behind you, that's okay. You'll wrap your strap around your ankle, and this can be really kind of awkward, but hold on to something, preferably not a movable sheet behind you, and then pull it up as high as you can get it. Everybody, if you're using the strap, find that. Otherwise, stand in Tadasana, feet hips width distance. Spread the soles of your feet. Then begin to shift your weight into the left foot and bring the right foot into the buttocks and reach behind you to grab it. Step one, notice my knees are apart here. Notice they're in line with one another. You might already start to feel a stretch on the top of the right thigh. Step two, instead of holding on to the pinky toe side of the foot, we turn the thumb up to the sky, the palm out towards the right, and then hold on to the big toe side of the foot. So you could do like a thumbs up from here. And this will help open up the shoulders. Okay, so we've got the knees along in the same line. And we're working our balance. And this might be enough for you. If you're feeling like you can go on, press the foot into the hand. So we start to reach the knee slightly behind you, and I want you to really feel an opening across this right chest. So the pressure of the foot into the hand stretches the arm back behind you. You can stay here. Make sure your knee hasn't opened out to the side. It's still in line with the hip. Whoop, I got a little wobble. To move on, lift the left arm up into the sky. Okay. And then the final iteration that we'll be doing today is maybe you bring the chest slightly forward as you kick the foot back into the hand and open that right side collarbone. Slowly release right knee, left hand to the hip, and then come back to your Tadasana. And I bet you feel that like I do in that standing leg. We've got one more side. So if you're using the strap, go ahead and loop your left ankle and just find your way into the shape. Otherwise, Tadasana. Spread the feet wide into the earth. Shift your weight into the right foot, and then kick the left heel behind you. Reach back and grab that foot, and right hand can come to the hip. Now bring your knees in line with one another, and their hips width distance apart. And then here, if you choose, flip the palm, thumb to the sky, and then grab the inner left foot. So you're holding on the big toe side of the foot. To move on, you start to kick that left foot into the hand to open up the left side of the chest. Allow the left collarbone to stretch away from the sternum. Maybe bring the right arm up to the sky. Check to make sure your left knee isn't flailing out to the left. And then choose, would you like to bring your chest slightly forward as you hinge a bit at the hips? And release. Bring the left knee back, hands to the hips, and both feet to the ground, and shake it out. So we got another back bend, and we'll use the towel roll for this. So find your trusty towel roll, and you'll come to kneeling with the toes curled under. So you've been in something like this before. You don't have to worry so much about the broken toe pose shape unless you're enjoying working with that, and then you can set the feet like we did in the beginning. And then take your towel, your hips are high, or your heels are high, excuse me. They're about to get even higher, because you'll place the towel on top of your heels. Now, some of us will be reaching the towel, some of us won't even go there. Depends on how you're feeling in your low back and the mobility you feel in the upper shoulders. And we're moving into camel pose, Ustrasana. So to start, everybody just place your hands at your low back. So the heel of your hand is at your upper buttocks and your fingers stream down the buttocks. Now draw the elbows together behind you. Press the buttocks flesh down and the pubic bone forward. You're reaching your tailbone down between the knees. You might already feel a lot of opening through the fronts of the thighs, and this might be where you stay. To move into a bit of a back bend, roll the shoulders down the back and lift the heart to the sky. Don't toss the head back just yet. Keep lifting the heart and spreading the collarbones, elbows drawing towards one another, and maybe you reach back to find the towel. If you found the towel, press down into the towel to lift the heart higher, and it's the same sensation you had in the upper chest that you just found in your dancer pose. Point the tailbone between the knees. Pubic bone presses forward. Keep that low back long. Deep breath. If your head is back, you keep it back. Bring the hands back to where they started at the buttocks. Lead with your sternum to lift yourself back up over your knees. And point back through the feet and sit down on your heels. And now the blanket roll is in a more comfortable place underneath the buttocks, not on the calves. Close your eyes and breathe. These back bends can have very strong impacts in the body. And just notice the echoes of sensation in your body right now. Blink the eyes open, and we'll take a twist. So we're going to use the blanket roll underneath just one buttocks at a time. So bring it over to your left side, and then bring both of your feet over to your right side. So I'll show you from this side. Hopefully you can see a little better. My right ankle is on top of the arch of my left foot, and both of the feet are far enough away from my buttocks so that my right buttocks isn't landing on my left heel. Okay? So now you'll take the blanket roll and place it just underneath the left sitting bone. So just the left butt cheek will be on the blanket roll. The right side now can drop down and become a little bit more level with the left. So really drop the weight down into that right buttocks, and it will be hanging and hovering over the floor. And then here we twist over to the left. Bring your left hand to the outer left thigh and the right hand behind you. Bharadvajrasana. Feel the skin of the navel twisting from right to left. So we turn with some of the muscles of the abdomen. And then adding a lever of the arm, pull with your right arm to shine your left side chest further back. Roll that left shoulder behind you. Think about the orientation of your arm in your dancer pose. The bicep is spinning open, the tricep tucking back towards the side body. And then notice what's going on in your neck. Is it comfortable? Let's bring the chin in line with the sternum so that we're just twisting through the core of the body, but not the cervical vertebrae. And now turn the chin to look over your right shoulder. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. Now you've made a lot of effort to get into this shape, can you soften and find comfort in this shape? And then release. Love this one. And we have a second side. So you'll bring your blanket roll over to the right and your feet over to the left, stacking your left ankle on top of the right arch, and then slide the blanket underneath just your right buttocks, right sitting bone. And then from here, I have to scoot my heels further away so that my left buttocks can drop down even with the right, and it's not sitting on top of my feet at all. And then we twist over towards the right. Left hand on the outer right leg, right hand behind you. Skin of the navel moves from left to right. Deep breaths. And pull with your left arm on the right leg. Roll the right shoulder back. Triceps tucking in towards the body. Biceps spinning open. Keep dropping into that left hip so that the hips are the base from which we revolve. Now, keep the torso where it is, but bring the chin in line with your sternum. And then turn the chin to look over your left shoulder. Find some ease in this shape. In yoga, the pose is meant to be both steady and comfortable. And release. Very nice. So now you can sit in any comfortable position. You might sit up on top of your blanket roll with your legs crossed in front of you. Or you might bring the blanket roll underneath you and sit on top of it with the heels out to the side, knees, hips width distance apart. So it is stimulating to the pelvic floor here, which is part of the yoga practice, Mula Bandha. So we're feeling the pelvic floor if you're sitting on top of the blanket between the legs like it is. You can also feel an evenness from right to left if the blanket's still in a roll, sinking both of your sitting bones down on both sides of the blanket. So we'll be taking cow face arms, that's these ones. So if you need a strap for that, place your strap on your left shoulder. And here we bring the right arm up to the sky, and then flip the palm behind you and bend the elbow. Find your strap behind you. Bring the left arm out to a T, then flip the palm back, thumb down, bend the elbow, and reach behind your back to hold the other side of the strap. And maybe you can walk your hands together so that the fingers clasp. Press the head straight back into the right arm and sink your front ribs down towards your hips. Open the left collarbone away from the sternum. And if your hands are high enough up your back, you might even feel that left shoulder blade weighing away from the spine. Try and press the inner shoulder blade down to flatten it with the ribs. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. And release this side. Feels good. Change your strap to the other shoulder. I won't use it on this side. This time you bring the left arm up into the sky, flip the palm behind you and bend the elbow, finding your strap or your spine. Right arm out to the right, flip the palm back, bend the elbow. And then crawl your hands as close together as you can comfortably get them. Press the head straight back into the left arm. Sink the front ribs down towards the front hip point so we're not back bending. And spread the right collarbone away from the sternum. Maybe flattening the inner edge of the right shoulder blade down towards the ribs. So pressing it in towards your chest. Some deep breaths here. and release. So we'll move into a bit of an unusual stretch for the shoulders. If this doesn't work for you, you can skip it. Find something that you like better. But here we'll first start on the belly. And you'll bring your right arm, let's do the left arm. Bring the left arm out to a T, palm face down. So the left arm is straight out along the side of the body, kind of like you can see my front arm here. And you bring your right hand flat to the floor and then roll over onto your left side. So now we're rolling over onto that arm. Bend your knees in front of you. Okay, so if this is enough on the arm, you stay here. And you can adjust where your arm is in space, crawling the hand further up towards your head or further down towards your feet until you feel the right spot opening. If you're not feeling much, you'll take your right foot and step it behind you, knee to the sky, and you'll notice that a little bit more of your weight winds up on your left shoulder, left arm, opening up the left side chest. Now, if your head is really uncomfortable here, come out of it. Find your blanket. You can put it underneath your head, and then come back in. If you feel any numbness or tingling, then roll back towards your chest to take some of the weight off of that left shoulder. And we'll do the second side. So first you stack the knees and then come back onto your belly. Let's take a break. Bring the arms down by the sides of the body, palms face to the sky, and let the shoulders slump for a second. And if you didn't take the time to get a pillow for underneath your head, but you kind of wanted it on the other side, go ahead and grab that now. Then we'll do the second side. So the right hand straight out to the side, palm face down. And then you'll roll over onto your right side, bend your knees, and make your head and neck comfortable, whether that's the floor or your blanket roll. So again, you can move the hand up towards the head or down towards the feet to find the right place for it. And if you want to get a little bit more, you step your left foot behind you, knee to the sky. Just breathing here. Any numbness or tingling, come out of it, some or all the way. And come back onto the belly. Let the arms stream down towards the feet and the shoulders slump. Here we'll just roll onto the back. And then do find your blanket roll as you've been using it. We'll slide it underneath the hips in a supported bridge pose. So if you have yoga blocks, you might choose to use those instead. And if you want a little more height, you can fold your blanket up a little higher, but just pay attention to how it feels. If it's uneven and uncomfortable, adjust it. So feet on the floor, knees bent. Press down into your feet to lift your hips, and then slide whatever you're using as support underneath them. I notice that my blanket feels uneven, so I'm playing around with it until it feels like it's supporting my body right at the sacrum. So right at that flat, bony landmark at the base of the spine. And once you find your support underneath you, I want you to press down into your feet and forward. So the skin of your upper back moves down towards your hips. So we're beginning to press the shoulder blades underneath us. So you might rock to one side, tucking the shoulder blades underneath you, and then again, pressing down into the feet and forward to pull the skin of the upper back down, exploring for the ridge above your shoulder blade. And if this isn't making sense to you, that's okay. Just breathe and find a place that feels good. And here with the head flat on the floor, and the shoulder blades tractioning underneath us, the back of the neck is getting a nice stretch. But make sure that your chin isn't tucking tightly into the neck, but that the muscles of the neck are soft and the back of the head is heavy on the floor. And then soften completely into this. Release any pressing with your feet. We're in a bit of an inversion here. The hips are higher than the heart. You can stay right like this, or to go upside down, you might bring the legs up to the sky in a bit of a Viparita Karani. So here, it might be more comfortable for you to bend the knees slightly. I feel like I'm rocking and rolling on my blanket, and if that's something you enjoy playing with, stay, and if not, maybe bring your hips off of the blanket and then your legs up into the air. We've done a lot of work with those lower legs, and now we're flipping them upside down. Which is returning lymph and blood from the feet and the ankles, down the legs to the hips and to the heart. You might notice temperature changes or a sort of thickness entering the feet as you hover your legs in the air like this. Let's bend the knees and place the feet one at a time back down on the floor. Lift your hips off of your support, slide the blanket out from underneath you, and bring the hips down to the ground. Hug them into the chest. Let your spine round. We'll find a final Shavasana. So if you have any low back stuff, keep your knees bent. Maybe let the knees knock in towards one another. Or you'll straighten the legs long, wider than hips width distance. Turn the palms face up and tuck the shoulder blades underneath you. Let your collarbones spread as the outer arms relax down towards the earth. And allow the earth to support you. Give your full weight. And give everything up into your Shavasana. Soften the skin of the belly as you helped yourself do with the blanket roll in the beginning. Soften the skin of your chest. Let the brain fall away from the back of the forehead and draw the eyeballs deeper into their sockets. Breath is effortless. Awareness is still inside. Stay here for as long as you like. Maybe 10 more breaths, maybe 15 more minutes. And if you would like more yoga, I'm on Zoom on Wednesdays and Fridays at 12:30 Pacific.